College debt or junk bond? Why your degree might be a bad bet in 2025. You drop $100,000 on a degree, only to end up working minimum wage jobs. Bloomberg recently published analysis calling certain college degrees the equivalent of junk bonds, high-risk investments with low financial returns. This comparison isn't hyperbole when you examine the numbers behind modern higher education in 2025. Bloomberg's December 2025 analysis identified specific degree programs where the return on investment falls dramatically short of expectations. A junk bond in financial markets represents a high-risk security with questionable ability to repay investors. The parallel to education is striking. Students invest massive sums into degrees that fail to generate adequate lifetime earnings to justify their cost. Humanities majors, for instance, earn approximately 20% less over their lifetimes compared to STEM graduates. An art history degree typically saddles students with $80,000 in debt, while providing only a $10,000 annual salary increase over 10 years, a textbook example of a junk-rated investment. Meanwhile, engineering degrees carry $60,000 in debt, but deliver $50,000 yearly salary bumps, qualifying them as investment-grade education. The geographic disparities in this crisis reveal different pressure points across developed nations. American students face the harshest burden, European students benefit from subsidized systems, and Australian graduates navigate a middle path through income-contingent loans. U.S. borrowers accumulate private loan debt that functions like financial chains, restricting career mobility and life choices for decades. European public universities operate as what the outline describes as a freedom pass, with tuition caps saving students approximately $50,000 compared to American private institutions. Australian students encounter HECS indexation increases that create a slow financial bleed, with typical debts reaching $40,000 despite the deferred payment structure. The scale of underemployment reveals systemic failure in the education-to-career pipeline. 40% of U.S. graduates work in positions that don't require their degrees, according to Bloomberg data. These aren't lazy individuals making poor choices. They're confronting mathematical reality where degree yields function as subprime financial instruments. When interest rates increased by 2% in recent adjustments, monthly student loan payments became unaffordable for thousands of borrowers who had carefully calculated their repayment capacity under previous terms. Real-world consequences extend beyond spreadsheet calculations. One anonymous account describes dropping $70,000 on a psychology degree, then working delivery jobs while dealing with the mental health consequences of that financial burden. The irony cuts deep. Studying psychology while needing therapy to process the debt incurred from that very education. These stories replicate across disciplines and demographics, creating a generation watching their financial futures deteriorate before their careers even begin. Hidden costs compound the direct financial damage. Bloomberg research documents elevated burnout rates among debt-burdened graduates who experience mental health challenges at higher rates than their debt-free peers. The opportunity cost analysis adds another dimension. 4 years spent in university could alternatively be invested in freelance coding work, building a client base and earning income rather than accumulating debt. A 25-year-old examining their FAFSA paperwork today may recognize they're holding a financial obligation that will shadow them into their 40s. Alternative pathways exist that bypass this debt trap entirely, while offering comparable or superior earning potential. Plumbing careers in the United States provide $80,000 entry-level salaries, surpassing the return on investment timeline of most bachelor's degrees. Australian apprenticeship programs receive government funding, transforming them into subsidized career launches rather than debt-generating education. European vocational qualifications deliver professional credentials at no cost to students, eliminating the need to gamble on degree value. Technology boot camps and certification programs have disrupted traditional education models. Google certifications can be completed in 6 months and lead directly to $90,000 annual positions. Bloomberg specifically highlights artificial intelligence upskilling as a priority investment area for both individuals and corporations. European platforms like Coursera receive EU subsidies that reduce costs for learners, while American students can leverage Pell Grants to fund these abbreviated programs rather than 4-year degrees. The gig economy offers a third pathway for debt-free income generation. Upwork and similar platforms enable non-degreed coders and writers to compete for projects based on demonstrated skills rather than academic credentials. Australian superannuation contributions provide retirement benefits even for freelance workers, while European gig worker protections extend labor rights to independent contractors. These careers can begin with zero financial investment and scale to six-figure incomes through reputation building and skill development rather than debt accumulation. The regional differences in debt burden create dramatically different life trajectories for graduates. U.S. private loan structures lack the flexibility of income-driven repayment, trapping borrowers in fixed payment schedules regardless of employment circumstances. European tuition caps prevent the debt spiral before it begins, allowing graduates to enter careers without six-figure obligations hanging over major life decisions. Australian indexation adjustments to SHEC's debt mean balances grow even when borrowers make consistent payments, extending the repayment timeline beyond initial projections. The 10-year salary bump metric reveals which degrees function as investments versus speculation. Programs delivering less than $15,000 annual income increases fail to justify their cost when measured against compound interest on student loans. The break-even calculation for an $80,000 degree requires either dramatically higher salaries than currently available in certain fields or unrealistically low living expenses during repayment years. Underemployment at 40% among U.S. graduates indicates systematic overproduction of credentials relative to available professional positions. This isn't a temporary economic dislocation. It represents structural mismatch between education output and labor market demand. When nearly half of degree holders work outside their field of study, the value proposition of specialized education collapses. The comparison to subprime mortgage securities proves apt when examining education finance structures. Both involve borrowers taking on debt for assets whose value proves insufficient to justify the cost. Both create systemic risk when large cohorts default simultaneously. Both were marketed as safe investments to populations without full information about downside scenarios. NerdWallet and similar platforms now offer debt calculators that let prospective students model their financial futures before enrollment. These tools reveal uncomfortable truths. A $70,000 loan at current interest rates requires $800 monthly payments for 10 years. That's $96,000 annually gross income just to allocate 10% toward loans, a salary many degree holders never achieve. The 2025 landscape presents clearer alternatives than previous generations faced. Vocational credentials, technology certifications, and freelance career building all offer viable paths to financial security without the debt burden of traditional degrees. The question isn't whether college provides value, it's whether that value exceeds its cost for specific programs in specific economic contexts. European students graduating debt-free enter housing markets, start businesses, and build wealth while their American counterparts allocate thousands monthly to loan servicers. Australian graduates watch indexation increase their balances even as they pay, questioning whether the credential justified the decades-long repayment obligation. The data forces an uncomfortable conclusion. For many programs and many students, a college degree in 2025 functions more like a junk bond than a sound investment. High cost, uncertain returns, and structural disadvantages compared to alternatives mean that traditional four-year degrees no longer represent the universal path to middle-class security they once promised.